The bacon sitting in every supermarket fridge right now was made using a process so simple that any home cook can replicate it in about a week. And once you taste the result, you will never go back to the packaged stuff again. That is not an exaggeration. That is a promise. Welcome to the meats. Today we are going full fine dining craft butcher mode, and we are making homemade dry-cured bacon from scratch. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to select the right cut, build a cure that layers deep, complex flavor, and cold smoke your finished slab into something that would not look out of place in a Michelin-starred kitchen. Stick around, because there is one step about 2/3 of the way through that most home cures skip, and it is the difference between great bacon and genuinely transcendent bacon. Let us start with the cut, because this is where most people get confused. Bacon comes from pork belly, specifically the thick, fatty slab that runs along the underside of the pick. But not all pork belly is created equal. When you are buying for a home cure, you want a piece with a good fat-to-meat ratio, around 50 to 60% fat cap with clear, defined layers. Thin, lean belly gives you bacon that cooks dry and tough. You want at least 1.5 to 2 inches of thickness across the whole slab. Ask your butcher for skin-on pork belly if you can get it. The skin protects the surface during the cure and peels off cleanly afterward. Aim for a piece that's around 2 kilograms, or about 4 to 5 pounds. That's your ideal working size. Now here's the first open question I want you to hold in your mind. What is actually happening inside the meat during a cure? Because it's not just about flavor. There's food science going on that's genuinely fascinating, and we'll come back to it. On to the cure itself. This is where home bacon making becomes an art form, and where supermarket bacon falls completely flat. Most commercial bacon is wet cured. The pork is injected with a brine solution and tumbled in machines for speed. The result tastes watery, cooks with a strange foam, and shrinks dramatically in the pan. What we are doing today is a dry cure, which means we are packing salt and other ingredients directly onto the surface of the meat and letting time and osmosis do the work. Your dry cure mix for a 2-kilogram belly looks like this. You need 40 grams of kosher salt or non-iodized sea salt, 20 grams of white or brown sugar, and here is the non-negotiable ingredient, 2.5 grams of pink curing salt, which is also called Prague Powder No. 1 or Instacure No. 1. This is not the same as Himalayan pink salt. Do not confuse the two. Prague Powder No. 1 contains sodium bitrite, which is what prevents the growth of Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria that causes botulism during the curing process. Without it, a home cure is genuinely unsafe.
With it, you are following the same science that professional charcutiers have used for over a century. Beyond those 3 core ingredients, the world is yours. This is where fine dining flavor starts to enter the picture. You can add 2 teaspoons of freshly cracked black pepper for heat and depth. A tablespoon of dark maple syrup pushed into the cure gives you a bourbon house sweetness that caramelizes beautifully when you slice and fry. Smoked paprika, dried thyme, crushed juniper berries, even a little espresso powder. All of these work magnificently, and all of them will make your finished bacon taste like something a chef spent years developing. Mix your cure ingredients together thoroughly in a bowl. Now lay your pork belly skin side down in a large Ziploc bag or a non-reactive container like a glass or ceramic dish. Press your cure mix all over every surface, top, bottom, sides, every corner. You want complete, even coverage. Seal the bag or cover the dish and put it in the refrigerator. And this is where patience becomes your greatest cooking tool. Leave it for 7 days. Every single day, flip the belly over and rub the cure back into the meat as it starts to liquefy and draw moisture out. That liquid you see pooling is exactly what should happen. It is osmosis pulling water from the muscle fibers and salt moving in. The texture of the meat will firm up noticeably by day 3 or 4. And by day 7, you will have something that looks, smells, and feels completely transformed. Now, remember that question I asked earlier about what is actually happening inside the meat during a cure? Here is the answer, and it is wilder than most people expect. Salt does not just flavor the meat, it denatures proteins, fundamentally restructuring the muscle fibers at a molecular level. It changes how the fat distributes. Nitrite prevents bacterial growth, but also reacts with the meat's myoglobin to create that iconic deep pink color that no amount of regular cooking can replicate. You are not just seasoning pork belly, you are chemically transforming it into a completely different food. That is the reason homemade cured bacon has that dense, almost silky texture when raw, and that deeply savory punch when cooked. It is not just flavor, it is structure.
After 7 days, pull the belly out and rinse it thoroughly under cold water to remove all surface cure. Pat it completely dry with paper towels. Then, and this is the step most home curers skip, and the one I promised you earlier, put the belly back on a wire rack in the refrigerator, uncovered, for 24 hours. This is called the pellicle stage. A thin, tacky, slightly glossy skin forms on the surface of the meat. If you plan to cold smoke your bacon, this pellicle is what the smoke binds to. Without it, smoke just rolls off the surface and you get an acrid, uneven result.
With it, smoke penetrates deeply, and you get that rich mahogany color and layered smokiness that separates fine artisan bacon from everything else. Now for the smoke. If you have a smoker or can set up indirect smoke in a kettle grill, cold smoke your belly at temperatures under 90 degrees Fahrenheit, ideally around 70 to 80 degrees, for 3 to 4 hours. Applewood, cherrywood, and hickory are all exceptional here. Apple gives you sweetness, cherry gives you color and a slightly fruity depth. Hickory is bold, classic, and punchy. If you want a blend, 2 parts apple to 1 part hickory is a pro charcuterie's go-to combination. If you do not have a smoker, do not worry. Skip this step and you still have incredible cured bacon. Simply roast the belly in an oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 90 minutes to 2 hours until the internal temperature reaches 150 degrees. This brings the product to a fully cooked, food-safe state while keeping that gorgeous cured texture. Now, the butcher's secret that will genuinely change how you slice. Let the finished bacon cool completely, then wrap it tightly and refrigerate for at least another 12 hours before slicing. Cold bacon slices cleanly, holds its shape, and you get those beautiful, even rashers instead of ragged, torn pieces. If you have a meat slicer, this is its moment. If not, a long, thin, sharp knife and a steady hand will do just fine. Slice to whatever thickness you love. Thick cut for a proper breakfast rasher, thinner for wrapping around scallops or finishing a fine dining canapé. To cook, go medium heat in a cast iron pan. No oil needed, the fat renders beautifully, and the natural sugars from your cure caramelize into a lacquered, deeply savory crust. The smell alone will make the whole thing feel worth every day of waiting, and it absolutely is. Store your finished bacon in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks, or slice and freeze portions for up to 3 months. The flavor actually deepens slightly after a few days in the fridge. Patience rewards you at every single stage of this process. So there it is, real, fine dining level homemade bacon, built from a single piece of pork belly, a handful of ingredients, and about 8 days of beautiful patience. The supermarket will never look the same to you again. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you going straight for a maple cure, or are you going bold with something like espresso and black pepper? I want to know. If this video gave you something useful, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And next time on The Meats, we are going deep on dry-aged beef at home. How long is too long? The answer might genuinely shock you.